page of the Daily Telegraph this morning has a fantastic headline: Sex is biological fact. The NHS has declared in a landmark shift against gender ideology. I've only been going 2 days. We got rid of Humza Useless, and now the NHS is getting itself sorted out as well. Let's find out what Helen makes of it. Helen, very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Glory Show.
Thanks for having me on.
Not at all. I mean, I'm not quite sure when this happened. I'm not quite sure when the NHS suddenly had this road to Damascus conversion. You know, I mentioned it yesterday because we saw that there was a consultancy agreement going out. But this is great news, isn't it?
It really is. If you sent that front page back in a time machine to anything past a decade ago, people would look at it and go, you know, what next? Water is wet. Yeah. It's just incredible how institutions have been hollowed out from the inside and have started to pretend that they don't know what biological sex is, which absolutely everybody knows. Yes. There are two sexes. And what else could it mean, for goodness sake?
Well, exactly right. And I mean, without wishing to sort of careen off into the wrong place, I mean, one of the reasons that Humza Yusuf ended up losing his job is because he fell for the whole gender identity nonsense, as did his predecessor, Nicola Sturgeon. It ruined her reputation, and it kind of ruined his as well.
They didn't just fall for it, they pushed it.
Yes.
I mean, they were absolutely on the side of trying to force it into every institution. What we've seen in the NHS over the past decade is what's called institutional capture.
Yeah.
Lobbyists have taken over. So the NHS has said for more than a decade now that you're entitled to ask for sex-based care, if you're entitled to ask for people of the same sex as you to provide things like intimate procedures, that if you stay overnight, you should be on a single-sex ward. And what the lobbyists got them to do was to write guidance alongside that, saying that when it says sex, what we mean is gender identity.
Yes.
So the sex of people turning up is whatever they say it is. I mean, it's incredible to subvert democracy like that and to take away women's rights and to cause a massive safeguarding risk for absolutely everybody, patients and people working in the NHS, and to do this with barefaced cheek. And now today, the people criticising this are saying there's a culture war. No, if you could come and take away our rights, we're going to fight to get them back.
Exactly. It's not a culture war. It's a safety issue, number one. And it's a common sense issue, it seems to me. But people like yourself and others who were arguing for the women's rights to be able to be women in their own space were kind of castigated and criminalised practically. I mean, look at what happened to J.K. Rowling. Only because she's such a strong woman, she's managed to survive that, and she's managed to keep all of her kind of, you know, abilities to do the things that she can do because she's immune from you know, I guess criticism in that sense. But, you know, the idea that you have to write down that trans women will not share a ward with women seems remarkable to me, but at least they've done it now.
Oh, totally. I really cannot praise Victoria Atkins enough in the health department for doing this, because the department and the NHS management are against her. NHS England has got operational independence and it has careened off in this ridiculous direction. So by doing this, she has put back in what patients want at the heart of it.
Is there any concern, because some people have said it to me, doctors in particular, that there's a consultation period and this may take a while to kind of filter down through into individual clinical units, hospitals, doctors' surgeries and all of that? Is there an issue with a delay here?
I mean, there's always an issue when you've got a very determined anti-democratic lobby that has managed to get itself consolidated within institutions. What this does is this gives another really clear steer from the top that if you fight against this, you are fighting against the rules that your organisation runs by. It'll allow patients a better chance to complain. Of course, that's always hard for patients. You're vulnerable when you're in hospital. So people like us are just going to have to keep shining a light on this and insist that the NHS does what it said it did. The NHS Confederation is the organisation we need to be crossest with at the moment. That's a membership body that all the trusts belong to. And it brought out guidance last year that was flatly unlawful, that said that you did not have the right to ask for the sex of your doctor. If the doctor said they were a woman, they were a woman, and so on. They're the people that we need to be going after now, get them to change their guidance so it's lawful.
Well, to be honest, if it was up to me, I would do away with the NHS Confederation altogether. They had the guy on Question Time last Thursday who was the chair of the NHS Confederation. He had all sorts of interesting views on, you know, poverty, you know, politics and all the rest of it, nothing to do with health really. And also, it seems to me that that organisation exists purely and simply to raise money for the NHS. And it's like, well, what's that point? What's the point of that? They've got a whole series of people working there who are on more than six-figure salaries. I don't know what they're for.
Well, apparently what they're for is destroying women's rights and then just absolutely ignoring anyone who tells them what they're doing is
Yeah.
unlawful. So I really hope that the Department of Health and Victoria Atkins are going to be talking very seriously to them and telling them, stop telling your members to do things that are flatly unlawful, that harm women's rights, and that are a problem for the people working there as well, and that are just not what this country wants.
Exactly. And do you think this happened really because of the Cass review as well, that was really the final kind of nail in the coffin, if you like, for some of this madness?
Well, I think it will have taken Victoria Atkins a while to understand what was going on, but I cannot praise her enough for getting a grip on her department. Her response to the Cass review, when she stood up in Westminster and spoke on it, you could see she was livid.
Yeah.
She was genuinely distressed and upset that this scandal had been allowed to go on for so long. The first whistleblowers were 20 years ago in that clinic, and she was so angry, and you could see that she had the bit between her teeth.
Yes.
I'm sure she's been planning this for a while, but now she knows that people are on her side. She knows that there's a wind behind her, and she's getting on with it, and great.
Yes, absolutely great. Well, thank you, Helen, for talking to us. I really appreciate it.